Good morning, traders. Good morning. It's been a while since I have recorded. Decided to record today's session now that I have some time and a quiet space to do so. So we are 2 minutes and 25 seconds until cash open. On my screen, as always, I try trade IWM. So I have the footprint here and I have the book on the left side. I have two areas that I am interested in. The extreme high of April 21st is right here, all the way down to roughly 278.95, with a focus potentially around 279.60 to let's see, 279.12. So that's one focus. The other focus is here at 278.13 down to 277.56, with the focus around 277.95 to 277.86. Looking for the market to create some urgency. You can see at 810 that was created here with some trap buyers, zeros on the sell side, trap buyers on the buy side, aggressive buyers at that. So I want to see if we can at least try to create the illusion of the market trading higher. And that's potentially can be we may see prices trade higher, the auction go higher as oil prices, I believe, was trading lower. Let's see. As of Let me refresh. Oil prices are down $2. So we may see a bump higher in the auction because of that. Um, but I want to see potentially that happening. So we have zero prints on the sell side here at 9:10. We got what 20 seconds to cash. Starting to see some urgency there. I do have 278, 279 puts. I do have 279 and 278 calls as well because of down here. All right, with about 10 seconds until cash open. You can see these resting orders are sitting here, created um, urgency, and cash is opening now. All right, so 278s are going for 62 cent. You see how it drop? I at 270. Got my first 10. Let me move my stop. And that's it. $30 or 30 cent, 10 cent per contract. Was my half. Look at that. Let me create a screenshot for my Discord members. And while that's coming up, oh, maybe I won't because I'm recording. All right, let me check my account real quick here. Yep, I got in at 80, half at 90, and a dollar full. So let me go to the Discord here and let these guys know. All right. So this was 278 puts entered at 80, half at 90, and all out at a buck. No market slippage, no nothing. Uh, Recorded my trade today and will post later. So now I'm wondering, I had this area here, 278.13 down to 277.56 with a focus here. So we didn't quite get to there, but that was the extreme high of last session. That created urgency was happening right here at the 925 candle. Look at it dropping. 925 candle. 28,000 buyers in that candle on 43,000 in volume, right? Much more than the 915 candle. That's that created urgency. Here at 810, we had 64,000 buyers at 74,000 in volume, and we still couldn't push the market higher. That was a good sign. Right into that area that I marked. And I got some more Discord members. Let's see what they're saying. Full goal. Oh, he got the calls. Okay. Fire. See, that was that area here, right? This is where I was looking to potentially get into here on the call side with the focus of 277.95 to 277.86. But you can't, it's for me, you can't neglect orders. My mindset is always where are the orders and how can we take retail traders' money, right? Where's the auction and where are they taking their money from? Well, they're taking their money from here, right? From this area of the 21st down to 278.95, pretty wide area with a focus of 279.60 to 279.12. And if I go backwards and I'll tell you why that focus in that area. All right, we go back to the 21st. Let me get rid of that. This helps too. And I'll go in that in a minute just to tell you who's trapped or whatever, but I'll talk about that in a second. All right, so that's the 21st. Here's the 21st 5 minute candle. This is clear price action. If you do nothing else, if you don't look at delta, you don't look at volume, this is clear price action. The market or the auction traded up into the highs of roughly 279.77 before fading down, right? And if you look into the actual footprint, as the market was trading higher, you can see, especially this 1005 candle, there's absolutely no sellers, right? So buyers are trying to buy, but there's no one willing to sell. There's no one willing to, let me make it a little, actually, let me make it a little bigger, easier to see, right? There's nobody willing to sell. This is the actual auction. This is the footprint of the auction, right? As the auction going up, there's finding less and less, buyers are finding less and less sellers that's willing to sell IWM in this auction to them, right? There's nobody there. This whole line here from 279.55 down to 279.23. There is nobody willing to sell to these buyers. Eventually, if there's no buyer or no sellers willing to sell to these buyers, eventually the market is going to drop till they find people who are willing to sell to them. And at the top of this area, 279.70 roughly to 279.69, there are actually no buyers, right, that are willing to buy at this high price, right? There's a 7,000, a little over 7,000, most of these candles, which is algo, but there's nobody willing to buy from here, right? They're selling, but nobody willing to buy at the top of these candles. Same at the 1010 candle, right? There's plenty 4,000 sellers, but there's nobody willing to buy from these 4,000 sellers, right? Moving on to 1025, there's plenty of sellers, 5,000, which is algos. You can see all that in a row. 13,000, same as all algos, but there's nobody willing to buy from these sellers, right? There's nobody willing to buy. Finally, it drops. There's absolutely no buyers willing to buy from these sellers. Selling all day long, but they're not willing to buy from them. Okay. And these are nobody, finally, nobody's willing to sell because the sellers are giving up. They're not selling to these buyers. And these are trap buyers here that's willing to buy the high prices, but there's nobody willing to sell to them. So then the market drops. This is a fresh area. Has it been touched? We haven't seen it since the 21st of April. We started to see it happening here in the London session. Again, come right back into the area of the 21st. There's no sellers willing to buy. All right. So these are trapped buyers that are buying at high prices, not understanding that there's nobody willing to sell it to them at this high. They want to buy it, but there's no supply. So what the market has to do? They have to drop. Again, at London session 8:15, same thing, right? There's nobody who's willing to sell up here. 820, nobody willing to sell. Plenty of buyers, aggressive buyers at that. And I didn't mention that here. Aggressive buyers wanting to buy these high prices, but there's nobody to sell it to. Again, aggressive buying, nobody willing to sell it to them. Aggressive buying at was this 820 London session. Aggressive buying, but there's nobody selling it to them. They can't buy some supply. There's no supply, right? So they dropped the market. Was the urgency that the auction tried to do? It tries to create urgency. We come now. There's 28,000 buyers on very high volume, much higher than the 835 and 830. All right, 43,000 in volume. 830 was 32,000. Right, 835 was 14,000. Much higher volume, much more buyers willing to buy at the high prices. But again, there's nobody in these areas that's willing to sell to them. Extreme high, we already saw extreme high is meaning that other auction participants deem IWM high, and they proved it again. Again, aggressive buying here, and these are algos 4,077, 477 algos, and then there's no buyers there at all. And then we continue down to the auction. Auction dropped. I got in at $80 per contract. It is now $1.23, which is $123. All right, let me go back to here's my Discord members. Yep, it did happen fast for sure. Full go into the 90, half fire. Fire, fire, fire. All right. Let's see. What's the video later? Okay. And you can see the auction is still going, which is a little surprising. Here, oh, you know what? I forgot about this area. I did have this area marked too. 277.11 down to the extreme high of last session, 276.80. And that actually came from, I believe, last session, Thursday session. Yeah, this area here, where if we look at the bigger picture, we pretty much bought and I had down here. I forgot about this part. 273.88. I mean, we were so far from here. I didn't think about it. This is where the auction started to buy from last session, and it continued on the run. Then we kind of paused a little bit right at the value high. Another important number. Fundamentals. Fundamentals are important. And then they started to buy again, which really was not only was the delta high here at the buy, but as taking profit or sellers try to sell, you can see we started to get a little bit, higher. 22,000 sellers, 137 in volume, couldn't drop the auction. Here's 145,000 with only 4,000 in sellers. Here's 141 in volume with 25,000. Now much bigger than the 135 candle. Still couldn't drop the auction. 123 in volume, 13,000 sellers, still couldn't drop the auction. Here's a more volume here, 129,000 with 11,000 sellers total, still couldn't drop the auction. So this was telling me this was being absorbed. Buyers were absorbing sellers, whether it was taking profit or just absorbing sellers, which I think it was absorbing sellers. And then off to the races where it did it again right before cash close. 271,000 in volume with 70,000 sellers couldn't drop the auction. Slightly lower, 240,000 in volume with a lot less sellers, 10,000 still couldn't drop the auction. And then right before cash close, 771,000 in volume, 18,000 in sellers couldn't drop it. And then this was the kicker here right before cash. 1.7 million in volume, 125,000 sellers still couldn't drop the auction. Actually, it was even more defended. 1.2 million with a little over a million buyers with the auction. So, and you can let me go back, and you can see this is why London session and Asian session were buying here. This is Asian session. I'm sorry, this is London session. Asian is over here. Late Asian session came back down into it, as we just saw. 1.1 million, actually a little over a million in buyers, 1.2 in volume. Asian session came back into it and started to buy from it. So you can see why Asian bought there. London session hung around it, even kind of dropped it a little bit, maybe took some stops out here before again buying up to it. And this was the area that we were looking at this morning, or that we played this morning from the 21st. Oh, you know what I didn't talk about? I talked about the area, but I didn't talk about the focus. Let me go back to the 21st on why I focused on that yellow area, which was here. So we know the area, right? Because of there were extreme buyers that just couldn't lift the offer, and there was nobody willing to sell to them. So those buyers got trapped. But the focus came from, I believe it was on the 13 rotation. Let's see. I believe it was on 13. I may be wrong. Yes, okay. So here is what they call conversation candle. Is I've heard it call it many things. I've heard it called doji, but this is more of a conversation where no one's really winning. Even though this is a green candle, you have more wick on each end than body, so no one's really winning. It's a conversation. It's they call it conversation because both buyers and sellers are conversing, trying to agree whether IWM in this auction that we play is worth the high price of 279.80. And obviously you can see they worked it out to where it's not. But this is a conversation candle. So it was between that was my interest. Um, Actually, that's the conversation candle, but that wasn't the focus. Yeah, I believe it was on the 15. Hold on, give me a hot second. I forget what rotation it was. Um, let's see again, hot second. I mean, the conversation on the 15, I believe. Mm-mm-mm. Maybe it was on the 30. Um, nope. Man, I know it was on 45. Maybe that was it, the 13 rotation. Either way, all of them had the same conversation candle. Oh, you know what? I did it. I see what I did. Okay. The whole area was from the extreme high to this low wick, but the conversation candle was actually here. So the focus was actually between here. Okay. Hopefully that explained it all. I'm not the best teacher. I don't prove. I don't try to be. I don't claim to be, but that was my thought process. Ooh, look at the auction now. Now it's coming into this area from last session where we saw a bunch of selling happen. All right, before I jump off, let me see what the rest of my guys. I'll look at that later. All right, guys. Well, that is the end of this morning. Pretty quick drop, pretty quick fade. Hopefully, I was able to explain my reasonings for taking the sell to flip the market, to fade the market versus buy. Even though oil prices were dropping because of I think Iran is negotiating now. I think that's what I saw. $2 is great, even though I don't feel it at the pump. But that was I mean, just tracking what the whales are doing. Also pulling up book map. Okay, there was a huge amount of limit orders in here. This is this is MBO, market by order that I look at. I don't look at I forget what the other one's called. But market by order is a lot better than the other one. And I can't, on top of my head, think what that is. So there was a bunch of big players just sitting, waiting. Um, Small 20s, some 15s. Let me see if I can zoom in and show me which the number. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, mostly 20s. But these red lines are sellers, obviously. Above price is selling, below is buying. These green and red numbers are basically absorptions. It kind of gives you an indicator on who's being absorbed, whether it's a seller being absorbed, or a buyer in this case, that means sellers absorbing. And then sellers in this case, that means buyers being absorbed. All right. Or vice versa. I can't remember. Either way, it's just information. It's not something you go off. Look at that thing. Now 278s are going for $150. All right. Doo-doo-doo. All right, guys, I'm out of here. My Discord members, I got a couple that caught the fade. Then I got one that caught the buy up. And I bet you it was from here because we did see a nice little auction push from that area because the London session was doing the same thing. And these are my free, this is my free Discord, invite only. So a lot of education here, a lot of education. So this is not a signaling group or anything like that. It's just strictly education. And I share my notes. So I got session pre-work. This is all my notes from this morning. So let's see. Today, I always start off with the date, whether we are in balance or not, the areas of interest. So the areas of interest are normally found on the TPO. Okay. So I always share my areas of interest there. And then I provide the fundamentals, extreme high, extreme low, or value high, value low, and POCs. Those are important institutional numbers, fundamentals to always pay attention to. Then I'll talk about the VIX, emotional measure, whether it's above 20 or below 20. I tell it, sometimes I say when if the VIX is dropping or rising, or most of the time I just give the number. And then a bird's eye view of what's happening. All right. So bird's eye view is just basically price action. It's just the footprint of what the market is doing because only people that can control the market or move the market is institutions. So just the footprint of where they're buying or selling in each session. So I have the New York session, Asian session, London session, and then their movements. Talk about what reports are coming out or what reports did come out and if they're good, bad, whatever. And then areas that I'm tracking. Again, these were the areas that I was looking for from last session. The extreme high of the 21st down to 278.94 was one area. Again, here is extreme high of last session, fundamentals, important numbers, right? Market came up to that important number, dropped it. Asian session, I'm sorry, London session, same thing. Provided hope before pulling the rug up under the buyers. Fundamental numbers. And I talk about my thoughts, right? Am I clear on direction? Am I getting some kind of urgency? Am I seeing urgency? Is the auction creating urgency? Is that urgency going along with my plan? I always have a plan before cash open. I know what I want to do before and I follow it. Am I seeing that play out before cash? A lot of times you can see it happening as early as 10 minutes before cash open. Am I seeing it happening? If I don't see it happen, if it's unclear, and then I tell my Discord members, happy trading before cash open. Again, this is not a signaling group type of Discord. It's just strictly education with me sharing my notes. All right. All right, guys. Well, this was a long time coming. Again, this has been maybe we in May. So 6 months, maybe 5, 6 months since the last time I recorded. I'll post this soon. And for my Discord members, congratulations. I'm proud of you guys. I get a lot of general chat of what you guys done. I also do some private ones as well, private messages of your progress. A lot of questions come through my direct messages. I answer a lot of them. So thank you guys so much for joining it. Again, this is invite only, free. I don't charge a dime. And we'll see if we can do it again next time. All right, everybody, have a great one. Peace.